that David Montgomery signed with the Detroit Lions for 3 years, $18 million, $6 million AAV. And we all kind of knew what that meant for one Jamaal Williams, or at least we suspected. But it broke yesterday that Jamaal Williams signed a 3-year, $12 million deal with the New Orleans Saints, and that is a $4 million a year AAV. And to me, I definitely think that David Montgomery is a clear upgrade. But I was a little bit surprised that he signed with another team for only $4 million a year, because that was a number that me as a Lions fan would have been comfortable giving him myself. So
Braylon hit it from the get-go. He said $4 million.
$4 million, and I would have been fine with that. I'm also fine with the upgrade, but I thought for sure, and Braylon, I don't know if you have experience in the NFL. I thought for sure when I saw that he signed with another team that maybe he would have signed for more money than that, but you weren't surprised.
No, I wasn't surprised. I think at the end of the day, his tag was going to be what it was. It was going to be $4 million a year, somewhere in that framework. And I think when he came to the Detroit Lions, and Detroit Lions had where they potentially, I don't even think they wanted him back. Like the way that I look at the situation now as it played out, listen, at the end of the day, life is about hard decisions. And the people that can make those hard decisions the best are competent individuals. They typically have the most success in life when they can look at a decision and they cannot wave their emotions into it, or they cannot look at it and say, okay, dang, I really love this guy, or I really love this woman, or blah, blah, blah. But it's not the best for what I'm doing. It's not the best for where I want to be. I see my team moving in a direction. I see myself moving in a different direction. So the Lions were off on him from the get-go. And I think Jamaal Williams probably tried to, I had 17 touchdowns and this, that, and the third. And the Detroit Lions, they knew what they knew. They said, hey, David Montgomery's a better running back. When you watch the two, it's night and day when you turn the footage on. When you turn the footage on, Dave Montgomery is a beast. I could see Dave Montgomery being this guy for the Detroit Lions for the next 5 years, 6 years. When you watch Jamaal Williams in there, you're like, I hope we get this win. I hope he can have a game. I hope that, Jared Goff gets hot and throws some passes. So Jamaal Williams did a lot of good things for the Detroit Lions. He's an emotional presence in the locker room. He was a leader. He was one to kind of help these guys during training camp. We all saw it on Hard Knocks, etc. He got in the end zone. We gave him opportunities. But let's call it a spade. You want to go in a different direction. The Lions aren't trying to go in a direction of being okay or being just good. And last year they were 9-8. That's just okay. Lions want to be really good. They want to get to NFC Championship. And what comes with that are hard decisions. And this is one of those first hard decisions that I believe Brad Holmes and that new regime had to make. And they made the right one.
Why'd the Bears let him go then? Why'd the Bears not sign him then? I'm just saying.
Right.
If he's running back 1 and Jamal's a running back 2, we know that's a sure bet.
Right.
But is he that much more of an upgrade than Jamaal Williams? That's $2 million that they could have saved per year. That's $6 million more that they probably could have went out and kept a player like Deshaun Elliott, who they let walk for $1.97 million to the Miami Dolphins yesterday.
Right.
I didn't like that they let him go.
Talking about the Bears or Lions?
I didn't like that the Lions let Deshaun Elliott walk to the Dolphins. So if they re-signed Jamaal, they would have saved $6 million over the 3 years.
But if you know what you know out of an individual and you see what you see, David Montgomery hasn't had an offensive line, and guess who's trying to build an offensive line? The Chicago Bears. So they need money to spend on that offensive line to help out Justin Fields. So that's another reason why they don't bring David Montgomery back. When you know that Jamaal, when you watch Jamaal on film, when you watch him on film, doesn't get anywhere on
He's
first.
He's not a running back 1.
Doesn't get anywhere on first down. Second down, you're hoping if you're running him on second down, then chances are you're not in a good spot anyway, because you're really just running to get, whatever. Third down back, he doesn't really catch the ball out of the backfield. There's a lot of things that Jamaal doesn't do. He was our backup running back. So now we can pay a guy to be our number 1 that we believe that could put us in a situation the next 5 years to be great. Yeah, you got to go for it.
There's a safety at Philadelphia that I would love to have here. You need safety help now.
Hey, with Deshaun,
he hasn't been re-signed yet.
That's definitely on the table with Deshaun Elliott. That is sort of, Maz, I agree with you, a little bit of an undervalued sort of guy who just walked out. And it's not, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I noticed it as well. It's not the end of the world, but I did notice it. He was good for them last year.
He was fine. For that money?
Absolutely.
He's fine. You need bodies, right?
Yes.
You need bodies.
You need bodies, but, once again, you're now going into a different realm. You're going into that realm of NFC North. You're trying to be Jon Snow of the North. I always say you're trying to be king of the North. And to be king of North, you got to get the right players. We give Brad Holmes a lot of credit because the way in which he's going about building this Detroit Lions team, he's building it the right way, saving money where he can, spending where he can't, and he's bringing back the players with the same integrity that the team is built on right now over the past 2 years. I think he's doing it the right way. So when little things like that happen, Jamaal leaves or Elliott leaves, push back on that because he's definitely doing it the right way. So I don't trip.
No, this I agree with you, and this is going to sound a little bit bad, but just bear with me, everybody. Jamaal Williams is obviously someone who was very, very valuable to this team. Had over 1,000 yards, 17 rushing touchdowns. You can't take that away.
Nope.
But I also kind of think that fans, because we're all fans, kind of overvalued him a tad. He became a fan favorite. He likes anime. He cries in post-game interviews and then snaps to Detroit versus everybody. I mean, that was all amazing. He's kind of a locker room culture guy, and I think a lot of fans kind of ate that up. But what we know as people who have watched football is that David Montgomery is a better back. He gets compensated more than Jamaal Williams. He gets $2 million a year more, but he is actually an RB1. Jamaal Williams was never meant to be an RB1. It was supposed to be DeAndre Swift's breakout year, which I predicted miserably, by the way. Right. And it was actually Jamaal Williams who had to kind of take on a role that he wasn't quite prepared for. I mean, you mentioned it. David Montgomery behind this Lions offensive line versus behind the Bears offensive line. I expect him to have the best year of his career. Plus, he is a threat coming out of the backfield. But
he's a 3-down back.
He is a 3-down back, and Jamaal Williams, unfortunately, at least in passing situations, was not really a 3-down back.
I'll say this. We don't have to, and we're not, by the way, none of us are doing that. We don't have to poo-poo on Jamaal Williams to say that David Montgomery is a better player. What Jamaal Williams did for the Detroit Lions last year, the last 2 years, we're forever grateful. I think the Detroit Lions fan base will be forever grateful to him. But you got to call a spade a spade. And I'll read this and then say it. I just want to say thank you to the people of the Detroit fans and everybody a part of the Hidden Village of the Den. I've grown a lot just from those 2 years, and I appreciate every experience I had with every person I came to encounter while I was there. Thank you. That's from Jamaal Williams himself. Appreciate you, Fletch. The big thing is, here are the two things, and we can just drop the Jamaal Williams stuff, people out there. One, you didn't fear Jamaal Williams until he got inside the 15-yard line. You did not fear him until he got inside the 15-yard line. Am I lying? And then thing two, when it comes to Jamaal Williams, Green Bay didn't want to let him go, but they let him go. Yeah. Because they knew, well, he's not better than A.J. Dillon. He's not better than Aaron Ross. And, yeah, you know what? For what he does, there's a cap on what it could be. The Detroit Lions are going to have to figure that out. 2 years later, what are the Detroit Lions figuring out? He's a fan favorite. We love him. We do not want to let him go. But there's a cap on what he can do for us, and we got to let him go.
You hit it on the head.
Yeah.
He'll be good in New Orleans, though.
He will be.
Alvin Kamara and him, that's a pretty good, formidable backfield.
He can do the stuff Alvin Kamara doesn't want to do. Alvin Kamara is a guy who wants the flashy stuff. He wants to – I mean, I'm not saying he's a punk. He's by no means is he a punk. He wants to do the flashy stuff. Jamaal Williams can do the heavy stuff.
I'm happy we got David Montgomery. That said, I'm happy we got David Montgomery.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Jamaal Williams was one of those casualties who had to go, and that's okay. I often referred to him as, and I know this is going to sound disrespectful, but I don't mean to, as the goal line touchdown merchant. Because those 17 touchdowns, while they were valuable, you need someone who can punch it in from the 1-yard line. I mean, those don't hit the same as Barry Sanders' 16, not even remotely close. But that's okay. This isn't a Jamaal Williams bashing hour.
Are we now mad that he broke the record and didn't even come back? Like, are we now mad now?
I don't know. I mean,
a little bit.
I'm a little bit. I told you what happened when he broke the record. I was like, I appreciate what he's doing, but I'm like, he broke Barry's record. I'm like, every touchdown I saw Barry's was different. It makes sense to what you're saying.
There is no universe in which Jamaal Williams should hold a rushing record in Detroit over Barry Sanders. And it was definitely, as we said, a little bit inflated by the 1-yard touchdowns. It would be like if, I don't know, someone like Jordan Howard broke a Walter Payton Bears rushing record or something like that.
People in Chicago will go nuts.
It just wouldn't make sense. But that's okay. All that being said, Jamaal Williams was valuable to this team. He gave that heartfelt thank you, and we are grateful for it. But there was a cap on what he can do. And one thing that I am proud of, I see most Lions fans, most of Lions Twitter, most of, if not all of this network understands that. Because Jamaal Williams, if there's any guy that kind of has us fans in our feelings a little bit, it's a guy like Jamaal Williams. But I think that everybody knows what's at hand. We know that David Montgomery is a better back. He's a 3-down back. He can catch balls out of the backfield, and I think he's even a more perfect complement to, say, a DeAndre Swift, who doesn't want to take every carry. He can't handle it, obviously. He's more of sort of a flashy guy, whereas David Montgomery gets all of the tough yards in the middle. I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field for the Lions.
Yeah, I think they're going to complement each other well, because I think with David Montgomery in the middle, David Montgomery can play on every down, first down, second down, third down, fourth down. He can catch out of the backfield. In his 4 years in the NFL, he's 1,240 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns, or 4 or 6, excuse me. I know it's an even number. Like, this is what he's done already. The man can play on every down. Now what that allows DeAndre Swift means they're not trading him. They're not going to get rid of him. They're going to leave him there, and they're going to find a space or role for him, because you've seen when he's on. Like, when DeAndre Swift is on, he can do amazing things for this Lions organization, and maybe he's just not the number one back. Like, one thing about these Georgia running backs, and I always said it, these Georgia running backs, man, they don't necessarily hit in the NFL as what they were in college. That's because all these guys are splitting time in college. Nick Chubb is doing his thing. Now, him and Ty Gurley early on, but Nick Chubb's he's the unicorn right now. No Sean Moreno, Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, the list goes on, because they're always splitting time. Like, you look at that team that Ty Gurley was on. Nick Chubb was on that team. Ty Gurley was on that team. Sony Michel was on that team. They're always splitting time. And I think when they get in the NFL, for some reason they break down because of it.
I'm glad you mentioned Nick Chubb, because he's definitely one of those Georgia running backs.
He doesn't count.
He's the one that definitely panned out. But when you're talking about the ones you just mentioned, like DeAndre Swift, Sony Michel,
it's like Justin Fields as the Ohio State quarterbacks.
Right.
Like, they're all Ohio State. Justin Fields, I believe, is different.
Justin Fields is the one that you could definitely see panning out. And Maz, you mentioned something earlier about, I think that Jamaal Williams, too, will also fit well on the New Orleans Saints to complement Alvin Kamara. I mean, they literally do what each other doesn't do. I mean, Jamaal Williams, not great catching the ball in the backfield, not really a flashy guy with a lot of speed, but Alvin Kamara doesn't want to run between the tackles and is never really a every down back. Look for the New Orleans Saints to, I think they absolutely have to win the division this next year, at least with that
That's
trade.
a wide open division.
It is wide open, but, you know, whether you like it or not, Derek Carr, you got him at quarterback, you've got Chris Olave, you've got some pieces on defense too. So that's
Carolina.
Carolina. You're looking at Carolina?
I believe Carolina will win that NFC South. I mean, you just look how they're built. I mean, you look what they did to the Detroit Lions. There's no fluke in that Detroit Lions game with the Carolina Panthers. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. That's how good that team is, because they're a defensively solid team. And this is before the moves they made in free agency. And then they can run the ball. So now they're bringing a backup quarterback. Now they're going to draft one of these quarterbacks. I'm not saying that they're going to be Super Bowl champs next year, but that Carolina team is going to be really, really good. And it's like you said, it's a wide open NFC South that I think they could win.
I mean, they gave the Lions the business on the ground, and you know who else gave them the business? Brian Burns. They're a star defensive player, and that. So I don't hate it. I'd probably pick the Saints.
J.C. Horn is over there.
Yeah, J.C. Horn. That's another one.
They just picked up at the secondary position. A big one. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
They spent a lot of money.
They're
spending a lot of money.
Yeah, they moved up, man.
Yeah, and you know.
By the way, Furman is beating Virginia.
Yeah. Oh boy, first upset of the tournament. And I never meant for this to be sort of a Jamaal Williams bashing hour. I just wanted to kind of hit home how I think we're all happy about the David Montgomery upgrade, and we're all also well, there you go, Adam Baydoun. I guess he says otherwise.
Baydoun is in the
house. What did Baydoun say? I missed it.
He said F Jamaal. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Fox 2 would appreciate that.
You know what? I wouldn't go that
far. We love it, though.
But you know what, Adam Baydoun, you are entitled to your opinion. that is okay.